Order, please. Order, please. Members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives, I will now read the proclamation convening this joint sitting. Proclamation by His Excellency the Governor-General of Australia, John R. Kerr. Members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives, pursuant to the rules adopted by both Houses, the joint sitting will now proceed to the appointment of a chairman. Is there a proposal?
Mr. Clerk, I propose to the joint sitting for their chairman, the honourable member for Sydney, Mr. Cope.
Is the proposal seconded?
Mr. Clerk, I second the proposal.
Almighty God, we humbly beseech Thee to vouchsafe Thy special blessing upon this Parliament, and that Thou wouldst be pleased to direct and prosper the work of Thy servants to the advancement of Thy glory and to the true welfare of the people of Australia. Members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives, before proceeding to the business of the joint sitting, I feel reference should be made to the historic nature of this joint sitting. This is the first joint sitting of the Senate and the House of Representatives convened by His Excellency the Governor-General pursuant to Section 57 of the Constitution for the purpose of resolving disagreements between the two Houses. It is, accordingly, an occasion of great constitutional significance in the history of this Parliament. The joint sitting will now proceed to deliberate and vote upon each of the 6 proposed laws named in the proclamation by His Excellency the Governor-General dated 30 July 74, which has been read by the Clerk. The proposed laws are Commonwealth Electoral Act No. 2, 1973, Senate Representation of Territories Act 1973, Representation Act 1973, Health Insurance Commission Act 1973, Health Insurance Act 1973, and Petroleum and Minerals Authority Act 1973. I now call on the first proposed law, namely the Commonwealth Electoral Act No. 2, 1973, and pursuant to Rule 11, I propose a question that the proposed law be affirmed. The question is now open to debate. Pursuant to Rule 8, no member may speak for more than 20 minutes, and pursuant to Rule 18, each speaker speaking on the question that the proposed law be affirmed shall speak from one of the lecterns provided near the table. The Honourable Prime Minister, Mr. E.G. Whitlam.
Mr. Chairman, I support the motion. This is an historic, an unprecedented, a sobering occasion. We are witnessing for the first time a joint sitting of the House of Representatives and the Senate of Australia. It is the first time that the members of both houses have sat together as a single legislative body. It is the first time that the proceedings of Parliament of either House have been televised to the nation. I welcome the opportunity thus provided for the Australian people to see the workings of their Parliament at close hand, to consider the bills now before us, and to reflect on the reasons why this extraordinary joint sitting of Parliament has come about. I commend this bill to honourable senators and members.
The Right Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Mr. B.M. Smith.
Mr. Chairman, this is indeed an historical occasion. So many people have described it as such that one's convinced it must be. In fact, it's never happened for 72 years.
Liberal and Labor governments, and I thank the House.
Order. The debate having concluded, the question is that the proposed law, namely the Commonwealth Electoral Act No. 2, 1973, be affirmed. Pursuant to Rule 11, the joint sitting will divide. Ring the bells. Lock the doors. Order. The question is that the proposed law, namely the Commonwealth Electoral Act No. 2, 1973, be affirmed. The ayes will pass to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Poyser, the honourable member for Bonython, Mr Nichols, the honourable member for Hunter, Mr James, tellers for the ayes, Senator Young, the honourable member for Griffiths, Mr D.M. Cameron, the honourable member for Calare, Mr England, tellers for the noes. Order. The result of the division is ayes 96, noes 91. Order. I declare the proposed law affirmed by an absolute majority of the total number of members of the Senate and the House of Representatives as required by Section 57 of the Constitution. Order. I now call on the second proposed law, namely the Senate Representation of Territories Act 1973, and pursuant to Rule 11, I propose the question that the proposed law be affirmed. Honourable the Leader of the House.
And the mere introduction of a representation bill to amend the Representation Act cannot be allowed to be accepted.
I declare the proposed law affirmed by an absolute majority of the total number of members of the Senate and the House of Representatives as required by Section 57 of the Constitution. Order. I now put the question that the proposed law, namely the Representation Act 1973, be affirmed. Pursuant to Rule 11, the joint sitting will divide. Ring the bells. I declare the proposed law affirmed by an absolute majority of the total number of members of the Senate and the House of Representatives as required by Section 57 of the Constitution. Order. Rule 5 provides that unless otherwise ordered, the sitting shall conclude at 11 p.m. It now being after 11 p.m, the joint sitting will be adjourned and resume at 10:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Honourable Senators and Honourable Members, the Chairman of the joint sitting.
Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee that thou say thy special blessing upon this Parliament, and that thou wouldst be pleased to direct and prosper.
Scheme for the benefit of all Australians.
Honourable Member for Henty, Mrs Child.
Mr Acting Chairman, these health bills have been before this House. They've been passed here already 3 times. They've been debated for literally hours out.
Order. The result of the division is ayes 95, noes 92. I declare the proposed law affirmed by an absolute majority of the total number of members of the Senate and the House of Representatives as required by Section 56 of the Constitution.
Mr Speaker,
Honourable Member for McKellar.
I move, under the provisions of Standing Rule 16, that so much of the standing orders be suspended as would prevent the member from McKellar.
Order. The honourable gentleman gave me a copy of the motion beforehand. The proclamation by the Governor-General on 30 July 1974 convened a joint sitting of the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives for the purpose of deliberating and voting upon each of the 6 proposed laws. In my opinion, neither Section 57 of the Constitution nor the proclamation authorises the consideration of any other matters by the joint sitting. Accordingly, I rule the proposed motion out of order.
Under Standing Rule 14, I move dissent from your ruling.
Order. There's a motion of dissent. The question is that the motion of dissent be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Contrary, no? No. I think the noes have it. Order. I now call...
More engineers in the world. We can buy the expertise we like. We don't have to pay for it. Mr. Chairman, I seek leave to continue my remarks after that.
The sitting is suspended until 8 p.m.
Order. The honourable member for Blackstone, Mr. P. Keating.
Mr. Chairman, before the dinner adjournment, I was speaking on the Petroleum Minerals Authority Bill, which is a bill designed to explore for and develop Australia's petroleum and mineral resources.
I have received the following message from His Excellency the Governor-General. Proposed laws intituled Commonwealth Electoral Act No. 2, 1973, Senate Representation of Territories Act 1973, Representation Act 1973, as last proposed by the House of Representatives and as affirmed by an absolute majority of the total number of the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives at a joint sitting convened by the Governor-General pursuant to Section 57 of the Constitution by proclamation dated the 30th of July 1974, having been presented to the Governor-General for the royal assent, His Excellency has, in the name of Her Majesty, assented to the said laws. Government House, Canberra, August the 7th, 1960. Order. Not it. Order. Before declaring the joint sitting closed, I wish to thank members of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives for their cooperation in the orderly conduct of the business of this historic meeting of both houses of the Parliament. I wish also to record appreciation of the contribution made towards the smooth working of the meetings of the party leaders by the party leaders and the parliamentary officers in both houses. The preparation of rules under which the meetings were held was largely carried out by them, and it is appropriate that I should particularly name the Leader of the House and the House of Representatives, Mr. Daly, the Manager of Government Business in the Senate, Senator Douglas McClellan, the Leader of the Opposition in the Senate, Senator Withers, the Deputy Leader of the Australian Country Party, Mr. Sinclair, the Clerk of the Senate, Mr. Rogers, and the Clerk of the House of Representatives, Mr. Parkes.